Well, it's that time. The season's over. The 49ers fall to the Chiefs. And I thought about grabbing my box of tissues and just having a good old therapeutic type of session today. But I tell you what, I see the chat is popping. And I see one person in here is about to get that business. I'll tip my hat to the Chiefs. Congrats, man. You guys did what you did, and you did what you needed to do. We're going to talk about it right here on the WayneBreezie Show. Stick around. Let's go.
So bright that we shine. All we do is the Niners. Ready to go, let us find us. So faithful to the bay. I be sipping gold bar, whiskey on the rocks, and a 24-karat gold on a watch. My 7-1 Chevy be tipping nonstop, sounding like Trent Williams on the block. So you know we can't stop, we be banging through your speakers. WayneBreezie on the filter in the bleachers. You can tune into my show and I'm a teacher. WayneBreezie, the 4-9 preacher. We so bright that we shine.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy WayneBreezie. Welcome to the WayneBreezie Show. I got an awesome co-host today. He needs no introduction. For those that don't know who this young fella is, his name is my main man, Tony. We call him the GM, the residential GM of the San Francisco 49ers. And Tony and I have been having therapeutic sessions off behind the stage, off camera. We just been going at it, just trying to just get our minds right. It's been rough. It's been a rough couple of days. I'm gonna be honest, Tony. I'm not no chicken. I'm not no punk. I just don't feel like doing, and I just don't feel like being in front of a camera right now. Because Tony, the issue for me is I couldn't explain to people what happened, and I think I'm no doctor, but I just like to be able to explain what I saw, and I couldn't explain what I saw. And so like that's why and people were coming up to me like, Breezy, at the event, they were like, Breezy, what happened? What I'm like, I don't know. And Tony, I've been emotionless. Like had not had an emotion. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't curse, I didn't yell. I was literally, I didn't even yell at you in our chat. Like that's not normal. Tony, what's going on, bro? How you feeling? Shout out to everybody in the Breezy Bunch crew. I will highlight you guys in a second, but let's give Tony some time to talk. It's been a minute since he's been on the show.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on. Congratulations to the Chiefs. I know there's a Chiefs fan in here. You guys won. Congratulations. It was a hell of a game. It's there's a lot to touch on with this game, but we're gonna go over it today. Hopefully, we can touch everything literally and cover it all. But first of all, how was your trip? That's what I want to know.
So the experience was great, right? Shout out to John Chapman, the 49ers Rush Road Trip crew. They put on two amazing events. Saturday night, we had Navarro Bowman and Frank Gore in the building, and they were amazing. It was really good seeing those dudes. And I just, I didn't get a chance to talk to Frank that much this time because I was, kind of like doing my thing. But I definitely got a chance to chop it up with Navarro Bowman, and definitely going to be looking to get him on the show. I congratulated him immediately for becoming the linebacker coach for, I always want to say San Diego, but the Los Angeles Chargers. And it was really cool because I think the thing was he remembered me from prior events, running to him at the airport and things like that. And then when he pulled out his camera, he took like the selfie on his camera. So I thought that was pretty cool because, Navarro Bowman is like one of our favorite players of all time. Like, you know what I mean? Like just being a great linebacker coming in, being what Patrick Willis wasn't, and then kind of like taking over that role when Patrick Willis started to kind of like decline with the injuries and things like that. Not saying Patrick Willis ever declined, but the injuries kind of held him back. But it was just really cool chopping up with him and Frank Gore and the 49ers Rush Road Trip crew. And then Sunday was Sunday, bro. It was a banging mega event. I mean, we had over like 8 billion people like at that event. It was just amazing. The turnout was great. unfortunately, the result of the game,
Yeah,
it was a little bit sad. So, it was rough. You know what I'm saying? It was rough. And can I just commend the Kansas City Chiefs fans for being great fans, like showing like they were showing sportsmanship. Because here's the thing, I didn't even recognize any fans while I was down there. That was weird, right? They didn't come, but the moment they won, they all came out. It was like they must have put on their jerseys after the victory, and then they just all came out. But no one was talking trash. It was just weird. The trash talking came from Eagles, Cowboys,
of
Packers,
course.
Raiders. Like this one dude, Tony, one dude came up to me, looked at me, and laughed. And I said, first of all, how you rocking a red Raiders jacket? That was number one. I didn't even know they had red other than in their practice uniforms. And so then he couldn't say nothing. And I said, man, when the last time you ever been to a Super Bowl? No comment. His
Crickets.
his his girl had to walk him away. That was number one. Don't come at me if I was just minding my business. And then last but not least, this beautiful elderly young woman last night at the airport, as I'm waiting on my luggage, Tony. She said, she said, I'm sorry. And I thought she was sorry because she got my way. So she patted me on my back. She said, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm a Chiefs fan. And so I almost disrespected the young elderly woman, but then I realized, I was like, you know what? Congratulations, you guys won. And she was like, well, at some point we got to let other teams. I felt like she was throwing shade. You can't tell me we got to let other teams. You can't say that. We gotta let the other teams win. I was about to say, hold up, you about to get that. I didn't know what to do. So I let it go. I let it slide. But I was tested, man. But Tony, I'm glad to be here, man. And I'm glad you hit me up, and I'm glad you're available. And I can't wait for you to air out, your frustrations and, your reasonings behind some of the things, because I know a lot of people are coming for Kyle Shanahan.
Of course.
And let's just nip that shit in the bud. Let's start with that. Let's just nip it in the bud. Let's nip it in the bud. Kyle Shanahan, should he be fired? Ready, set, hit it.
Absolutely not.
You gotta tell us why, bro. Like because that.
Oh, I thought it was just like a 1, 2, 3 quick answer.
I wish it was.
No, I mean, listen, Kyle, it wasn't one of Kyle's best games yesterday, right? I mean, I think we could all agree on that. But I have a major red flag with Kyle, and I just learned about it within the last 24 to 48 hours. But as far as the game, we'll get into the red flag later. But my thing is this, right? If Brock Purdy was able, if the blown assignment didn't happen on that offensive line, and Brock Purdy saw a wide open Aiyuk, a wide open Jennings on a whip route, and even a Kittle sitting in the flat, if he connects that, we're not having this conversation today. Now, from halftime to that point, was it good? No. There was some shakiness. There was some, a couple questionable calls on the offense, 8 of 9 passes at 8 out of 9 were pass plays on a certain stretch in the third, fourth quarter. You could kind of argue that maybe because they were stacking the box, he wasn't getting the looks that he wanted in the run game. We'll get into that later, but I think finally the offensive line issue, the failure to address the offensive line with premium picks and money, caught them this game. It caught up, in my opinion, because I really think Kyle needs, with this offensive line, it was scheme dependent to try to take the defense from pinning their ears back and flying upfield. So all that cross motion, pulling guards opposite direction, that was to slow down that defensive line and get them thinking. I don't think that could work anymore. I think they need to address this offensive line. And if they can, I think it should be all right. But I think they have bigger issues right now going on. But as far as firing Kyle, I can't see them firing Kyle. I personally don't want them firing Kyle because my question to everybody that wants Kyle fired is, who are you bringing in?
I mean, I mean, I can name a couple of coaches. You know,
I'm
I just say I can name a couple of coaches. I'm not saying I want Kyle fired. Do not put me down and put me up there in the shooting range. Don't shoot me. I'm just
no, no,
saying
no.
I can name a couple of coaches that could potentially. 'Cause I know one guy who can beat Spagnola. His name is Bill Belichick. I'm just and I'm saying not that I want Bill Belichick to be this coach,
Mhm.
but can you imagine what Bill may do? First of all, first thing Bill will do is hire Kyle Shanahan as offensive coordinator. I'm
I
just
don't
playing.
think Kyle would
I know, Tony.
ever.
I'm just throwing it. I'm just having fun. But here that was my next thing, in this particular game. And sometimes throughout the season, I just feel like if Kyle just had a second opinion, a third opinion, or somebody that he valued their opinion. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, Kyle Shanahan makes runs and does, he calls the shots. I just feel like if he had an OC to kind of like check and balance him throughout his time, I just feel like you might get a different, turnout. And this is not a shot at Kyle Shanahan. He calls really great plays. But Tony, it just seems like every play he calls,
Mhm.
everything has to work for it to work.
Well, give me 1 second. My daughter's
Yeah,
in
for
something right
sure.
now.
Go ahead, do your thing. And so when I think about Kyle Shanahan, I just feel like he's an excellent head coach. And it's unfortunate that he just can't get over the big game hump. Right? He can't get over the big game hump. I got a couple of super chats. Let's go ahead and get to those while Tony attends to his family. Delvin Thomas says, thank you for the super chat, by the way. I'm not going to say Kyle, but we should have ran more. We'll touch on that. I guarantee you, Delvin. We'll touch on that for sure. And then Fish and Chips super chat says, thank you for the super chat. Says Kyle said it his coaching mantra, don't get fired. All right. It is his coaching mantra, don't get fired. First of all, let me just explain that I think Kyle Shanahan has a secure job here with the San Francisco 49ers, and there's no way in heaven or hell that our owner, Jed York, is going to allow him to walk, or he's going to fire him. Like, Kyle would literally have to walk away from the position here as head coach of the 49ers. I do want to put that out there.
Yeah.
I do feel Kyle needs to be checked. And if there's nobody there
Yes.
to check him, Tony, will this be the result every single time? Because we can't. Okay, let's go through some of the game, right? We can't get to the point where we don't figure out how to adjust to close out a football game. And that to me is the biggest issue. But if I had to put the blame on one thing, it's not Kyle Shanahan. It's just straight up execution. And it's in my key. It's always execution. Because the coach is going to line up the players, he's gonna have his play, and then the players have to go out there and perform it.
Correct.
And if they perform it, you just told me if such and such happened, blah, 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 blah. And I know we say the if word a lot, but you just
Of
told
course.
me if this happened, man, that's a touchdown. That's a touchdown. That's a touchdown. And that was the issue. We didn't score touchdowns.
Well, as far as the Kyle Shanahan thing, I personally don't see him going anywhere. And I'm not just saying this based on me being a diehard Kyle Shanahan fan. A lot of things has opened my eyes towards him in this game and a couple of things I'm hearing. But I will tell you this, in the issue of Kyle's philosophy with his offense, it is so heavily timing based. And if something is off,
It is.
that's what happens.
It is.
It's not your traditional offense where you see like Kansas City's offense, where it's not as much as timing. It does has concepts that are timing patterns, but the majority of the NFL don't run such a strict timing offense as the Niners.
Well,
right?
Tony, can I ask you, like checks and balances, bro?
Yes,
It ain't working.
I know. And that's why I think he really needs to sit himself down, check himself. And this is the part of the reason why I'm saying this is
I
because
need his
I
dad to sit
think
him down or something. Somebody that he, not to cut you off, it has to be somebody that he will listen to. He ain't listening to himself. So it has to be dad. It has to be a guy that is in his dad's stratosphere
yeah,
of, you know what I'm saying? And it's not, I call him, he's arrogant, he's all these things, but he's also a great coach. Like I want people to understand he's a great coach.
yeah,
But because he out coaches himself, there are times he falls short.
yeah.
And if he's not, you say he needs to check himself. That's hard when you look in the mirror and you see greatness. Like, did Kyle take any accountability in this loss?
He won't.
Okay.
He
And
won't. But that's
because
just the way he is, though.
well, I saw Grant put out something, and you know what? My dumb behind didn't listen to it, but I thought Grant was being facetious because that's who Grant is.
Well, him and Grant don't.
Right. So when I saw the title, I thought Grant was like, "Oh, he making fun of Kyle because Kyle didn't take." Because I don't remember him taking accountability, and
Yeah.
that's where it starts, bro. Like,
Because Grant asked him a question in a post game conference, and Grant asked Kyle a question, and Kyle pretty much danced around it because he knows where Grant is going at. Like Grant is like, he digs. He just digs. It is what it is. That's his style. It is what it is. But just real quick, getting back to Shanahan with this offense, I think if they're able to address that offensive line, right? Address the offensive line, I think he can go to a different variation of an offense because I think the scheme dependent, I think the timing, I think boom, 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 like get it out quick. I think that's to protect that offensive line. Like, right? How many times do we say, wow, Kyle's a genius? Because every time they play the Rams, Aaron Donald's gone. That is a scheme-dependent game plan to eliminate their best threat on the defensive line.
wait a minute, Tony, because I watched this game and I thought the offensive line played very well at one point. The majority of this game throughout his scheme, they eliminated that Kansas City defense. And let's just talk about it. Like, the pressures were there, but there's only one result. There was only one sack from it. And then it just came to with the interchanging of players on the offensive line. And that's where we started to fall. And so, like, I'm curious to know, what do you think about Kyle Shanahan? I love what you just said, because that's it. If that's the reflection he needs from this game, okay. I thought I can make it work with this offensive line, and I realize I got 13 draft picks in this upcoming draft, and I need to heavily hit on this offensive line with this quarterback that I'm going to have to pay and these weapons that are getting older. And he has to get it right? So, like, it has to be the offensive line. That's the first thing I tweet. I didn't really want to be on Twitter. The first thing I says is, let's just fix the O-line. But when the O-line did, all right, they gave up. All right, let's go through the O-line and the stats and the pressures that they gave up in this game. The offensive line and the run and the pass blocking, my fault. They gave up 18 pressures. Okay, it says that they gave up 0 sacks, but I thought I saw a sack. But it might not have been from the offensive line. It might have been on a scramble, and he ended up getting
sacked.
Yes,
it was. He was caught right before the line of scrimmage.
Right before the line of scrimmage. Thank you, Tony. And then they gave up 6 hits, and Brock Purdy took some hits. Oh my God! And 12 hurries. All right, that's not a bad game. The issue was the mother freaking penalties, Tony. 5 of them, and 2 of them came from Trent, and that's what made Trent look really bad. Other than the fact he got put on his ass on one play. Yeah. But that's what made him look bad. But when I look at
that was the first drive, correct?
That was the first drive, bro.
That first drive, I think, in my opinion,
second drive. It was after the fumble, right?
The first drive.
Oh, I'll go back to the first drive.
No. I'm just saying the first drive set the tone for this team, right?
Right.
They got into the rhythm. The timing was there. They go down the field, and then boom, the turnover.
Right. So here we go. Let's recap the first drive. You had, and I'm gonna give you the ratio of the first drive. It was rush, pass, pass, rush, rush. So it just seemed like the ratio was more rushing, but it was effective because Christian McCaffrey first play of the game 6 yards. Second play, it was a pass to Kyle Juszczyk for 18. Third play, another pass to Christian McCaffrey for 11. Then it was a rush by Christian McCaffrey and then another rush on back-to-back plays after he got the first down, and that's where he fumbled the ball.
Correct.
It was that second drive where
Where
the
it was
penalties
Trent.
kicked in.
And
Yeah.
then they became behind the sticks, back-to-back penalties. It
Yes,
set them
sir.
back 15 yards.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Playing from behind the sticks, you can't run the ball. I don't care what you say.
Understood.
Not you. I'm just saying.
No.
specifically.
I want people to know. I want people to understand what you're saying. Understood. You can't. you can't get the first down and then rush -2 with Debo. Then get a penalty. That's -7. Then you get a holding call. That's -17. You see what I'm going? Now it's 2nd and 27. You got to run a short pass to try to get you a chunk. That's my issue. How are you not utilizing that part? And then here's the kicker. They got 8. What's 12 plus 8, Tony? 20? They got 20 of those yards back off of the 2 pass plays, which they did. Then they get another false start. Then it was another penalty.
It's execution, right? Kyle was not perfect. I'm going to say it as a huge Kyle fan. But Kyle's not the one on the field.
He's not on the field. He can't make the plays. You're right.
You can put your players in position to have success. Right?
Yes.
And Kyle has a tendency to be good at that.
He's great at that.
But if you're not executing, whether it's the lines, the receiver, them getting knocked off of a timing route, that's what happens. Now you're playing from behind the sticks. But I just want to say something real quick before we go any further. 2 things, actually. Number one, this foundation of his offense has base roots in the West Coast offense. Now, back under Bill Walsh, you had a running back who set a record of 1,000 and 1,000. His name was Roger Craig. And the reason why I'm saying this is because Christian McCaffrey is that type of running back. So just because he's coming out and throwing the ball, but some of the throws on some of those plays, he's getting it to McCaffrey to try to make 4 to 8 yards on a pickup on a pass play. Sometimes in the West Coast offense, you supplement the run versus stacked box with the short passing game with your running back. So you got to look at the whole context. Yes, physically they did not hand the ball off as much as we wanted to McCaffrey. All right. At the 450 mark in the second quarter, McCaffrey had 13 carries. Okay, 13 carries. I think if he continued that on that pace, it would have put him at 24 carries. I think that's a fair number to be at in a balanced attack. But what happened was, once you got in that second half, the balance was gone. It wasn't there. And just one quick thing before we go on. This offensive line play dropped the minute Feliciano went off the field.
It did. We'll get to that. It did.
Just be wary of that because that's when the shit hit the fan, especially on that blown assignment.
Remember, Tony, I said that I thought that the offensive line played really well until a point, and you just gave us the point. And now you got offensive linemen in their, feelings taking shots at other offensive linemen. It's so crazy, like what's going on. Like, the 49ers. I mean, and that's the ultimate question of the show. Like, did the 49ers lose or did they get beat by the Chiefs, right? And it's like when you come back to this, you're saying to yourself, damn, the 49ers kind of like did some stuff and they kind of gave this game to the Chiefs by not capitalizing off of their opportunities, right? Shout out to Tonga808, who is a YouTube member. I definitely wanted to show him some love. Tony, let's get to a couple of these super chats while we're here. We got another one from Fish and Chips. He says, Kyle's only ambition, a job in the NFL, nothing more. Okay. And then Tonga with the super chat contribution says, Yo, Breezy, they should hire Bill Belichick as DC. Tony, would Bill Belichick ever become the defensive coordinator of a team?
I don't think so.
It's coach or nothing, right? It's kind of like Kyle Shanahan, right?
I mean, listen, in an ideal world, sure, I'd sign me up, but I don't think that happens.
Yeah, like I just don't think he would ever go backwards. J Dog, Boston, he says the most talented team for years. Anyone else would be held accountable. Our roster is stacked. We don't need a great head coach. Anyone else would be fired. He's not a great head coach. That's BS.
You see, okay. My thing is this. Kyle Shanahan's a great coach, except for the big game, it seems like, and in fourth quarter and closing, right? I think we could agree on that.
Yes.
All right. Now, you want to fire him? Hypothetically, we'll say, okay, fire him. Who are you bringing in? Now you have a roster that's currently built to win, like to be there. Clearly, Kyle did not have his best game, but still at the end, they had an opportunity to win.
I slightly disagree. I think Kyle did have his best game plan. The motherfreaking players failed. You go back to the first drive, Tony. We cannot in any way, shape, or form overlook the Christian McCaffrey fumble. I don't care if he's the greatest running back of all time. I don't care if he's the MVP, offensive player of the year. He cannot fumble the rock. Period. He cannot. It's end of discussion, and he knows that. Shout out to Christian McCaffrey for taking accountability, because Christian McCaffrey said what? We beat ourselves. And this started there. I'm curious to know. I know it didn't cost the 49ers any points, and the defense was able to force a 3 and out. Okay? Yeah. I get it. But momentum. Let's talk momentum. That's part of the football game.
100%.
And let's talk about what else might have been in Christian McCaffrey's head. Oh, my gosh, I can't believe I fumbled that ball. Oh, my gosh, I got to come out here. I got to make a play. I got to do this. I got to do that. Like, that right there, that just, to me, it just changed the tone. Luckily, it just didn't cost the 49ers anything as far as points. But guess what it ended up costing the 49ers? I think it cost the 49ers this game. And I know there are other things that led up to that. But, Tony, again, we could talk about Kyle Shanahan till we blue in the face, and yes, there's things that I dislike, and yes, I just feel like he lacks creativity. But what if that's because he lacks confidence in his players executing?
It could very well be that. It could very well. I mean, listen, I'm going to be straightforward with you. You're not, and I said this to you before we came on. You're not beating Patrick Mahomes with field goals. I'm sorry. And the scariest thing of this all, as bad as it transpired for the 49ers, the CMC fumble, the field goals instead of touchdowns, the blocked extra point, the muff punt.
I want to talk about all of those.
The Dre Greenlaw injury. The minute Dre Greenlaw went out, there's a stat out there. I don't have it.
You don't need the stat. I'm going to tell you this. You don't need it because I know a lot of people don't like my takes because they be far-fetched, right? And so I don't know if you remember on Twitter, I put out a tweet that said, I have 2 words for Kansas City, Dre Greenlaw. And people didn't really understand what I meant. So let me give you let me explain it just a little bit more in depth, and you can agree or disagree. The last time that the 49ers played the Chiefs, it was at home, and they got mollywopped, right?
Yes.
They didn't get mollywopped in the beginning of the game when Dre Greenlaw was playing, though. I bet you Kansas City offense couldn't figure out how to get going when Dre Greenlaw was in that game. The moment he got injured, what happened, Tony? And I know you're busy, but what happened? The game changed, right? The moment
100%.
He left that field.
They went right to the middle of the field.
Tony, I got nervous the moment. I didn't give up, but that's when my nerves came. It was the moment I realized he wasn't coming back to this game. And I said, okay, now Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to take advantage of Jair Brown down the field, the rookie. He doesn't have to pick on him anymore. Because he
came up with a turnover. Go figure that out.
After he picked on him, right? Yep. But the reason why Mahomes had to do that was because he wasn't going to throw the ball in the middle of the field when Dre Greenlaw was on that field.
Mhm.
I'm just saying that. Tell us how effective Dre Greenlaw was on the field. That's all I'm asking.
I got to try to find this stat because it's killing me, Wayne. It
Oh, you talk about
really
what
is.
Oren Burks gave up 9 for 9 receptions? You talk about that
Yes.
stat? Oh, I know that by heart.
Yeah. That
We
tells you right there. Patrick
hold
Mahomes,
on.
Andy Reid, they went right after Flanagan Fells and Burks.
I
That's it.
love
That
you,
was the game
bro.
plan. They
I,
made
I,
the adjustment.
I was nervous about doing this show because I was just nervous, and you just made me like get right into my mother freaking zone.
And I'm just going to say something, and I'm not making any excuses. So for the Kansas City fan, I don't want to hear shit from you. But I'm going to tell you right now, I had to go for therapy on my plantar fasciitis, and I talked to the therapist, and I asked the question, what could cause an Achilles to pop? And the girl, sweetheart, she explained the whole thing to me. It's one of the tendons that are the trickiest tendons. It could go on any sudden movement, da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked her,
Oh God,
and she knew I'm a Niner fan because I had my hat on,
I know where
whatever.
you're going.
I said, could a change of surface cause this injury? She's like,
I
well,
know
what
it.
do you mean?
I know where you're going.
And I explained it to her. She goes, absolutely. She goes, because if you put your foot down like this, your Achilles knows where the limit is because your foot's not going any further south. If you plant and run and you're on a softer surface, your foot sinks into the surface. Therefore, when you're going to push off that foot, the Achilles stretches a little bit further because there's give in the surface. Now, I'm not saying 100% that caused it, but I think it could have had a factor in it.
Yes.
I'll tell you this,
Yes.
because being that it was so soft, it was a softer surface, but playable. I'll make that clear, but playable. Potentially, did that stretch out his Achilles and that potentially caused it to pop?
It's possible. It's really
I had
possible.
to ask this girl this question. She looked at me like I had 12 heads, but I explained to her the whole scenario.
No, and Tony, like, it's so possible, right? It was just a freak injury. It's just weird because he was playing
Yeah.
and just a slip. Now, I believe things a little bit differently. I believe that if you play this game of football and you have to run left and right and back and up north and south for the majority of your career, I believe it plays a lot of wear and tear on that Achilles. And I just feel like it was his time for it to pop. It was one of those things where it's going to pop. It's just a matter of time for it to pop. Because that's all the Achilles is. It's a rubber band in the back of your mother freaking ankle.
That's
And
it.
at some point the elasticity gives up and it goes pop and then it needs to be repaired. And I just felt like it was just his time. And it's unfortunate. And it's nothing you can blame him for. He plays fast and furious. And unfortunately, on that particular, I'm coming back onto the football field, it just popped. And it could be because of the feet, the footing, and all that type of stuff that you're saying, going from soft bed surface to the harder surface there. It could have been all of that. I just feel like there's no real explanation when the Achilles goes. It just goes. Remember remember Jeff Wilson Jr. Achilles went after he was getting up from a chair or something like that. Like they just pop. Like they just go. It's unfortunate. But let's get back to how his loss affected the 49ers defense. And I think that's critical because here's something from a Kansas City Chiefs fan. You ready? Chiefs 2024 easy SB. He says that did you just change your name to saying that the next Super Bowl is going to be easy? That's funny. He says y'all get ready for another ass whooping next Super Bowl at 3P. Now look, let's have this conversation because he's saying a couple of things here. First of all, I want to big him up for saying y'all get ready for the next Super Bowl. So he's already declaring the Niners and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So I got to give him some props because I ain't going front. There's no team in the NFC that I feel like the San Francisco 49ers are afraid of. I don't think there's any team in the NFC that can beat the 49ers. So if I just threw shots and strays at every other team, all other 15 teams, oh well. But I don't think, when did the Niners get their ass whipped in this game? And that's my question to you, Tony, because if I'm not mistaken, I saw Chiefs fans on the edge of their seats scared. They didn't even come out until they won. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, there were no Chiefs fans in Vegas until they won. It's like everybody had on a regular clothes, and the moment they won, they came out or they bought a shirt right away. Like, it's so weird to me. But I don't remember us getting our butts whipped, Tony.
No, at no time did we get our asses kicked. And plain English, sorry. I'll tell you this. The first half, I think the Chiefs got their ass kicked, to be honest with you, because their body language, walking on and off that field, they were shocked. They didn't know what the hell hit them. I'm going to be straightforward with you. Body language tells you everything. I know there's a Chiefs fan in here, and I'm sure he's going to do the crying. Oh, yeah, 0-4 versus the Chiefs. Great. Congratulations. Good. But I'm just saying it how it is. Look at their body language. Go back and watch that game. They didn't know what was coming at them. Okay? It is what it is. But when you shoot yourself in the foot as much as the 49ers do, it's it is what it is. You're not going to beat a team as good as the Kansas City Chiefs with the way we played. There's no way in hell. But we got 2 turnovers and got 0 points over. 3 turnovers.
We didn't capitalize off the opportunities.
We got 3 turnovers, right?
We had the two. I thought we had 2. Did we have? We had 1 interception and then 1 fumble.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you win the turnover battle, and we still lost the game.
You got 0 points.
Okay, Tony. Let's get to why the Niners lost the game in regulation. Okay, I think that would be a good point or pivot point to recap, because you mentioned, matter of fact, guys, there's a poll going on right now. We're talking about that game-changing play for the 49ers. Like, what do you feel is the most game-changing play in the 49ers loss, right? What was the most game-changing? And Tony mentioned all of them, and we're not even going to talk about the overthrows to, if that's an other, we can talk about the overthrows, but we can also talk about the missed assignments, the blocks, and things like that. We can get into that. But, Tony, let's talk about how the Niners lost the game just in regulation. And I think many people are going to come back to the Jake Moody PAT extra point miss.
No, I mean, I'll tell you what I think it is. 100%.
Well, I wanted to talk about that. Because that would have. Well, no, you could talk about what you want, but I want to specifically talk about that 1 point and why people feel like that 1 point would have gave us the victory. So how do you feel about that? Like, was it that 1 point that the Niners were missing? They would have won 20-19. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so.
Yeah. But I mean, how do you know? Like, if he made it, how would the game transpire?
I just needed you to. They don't listen to me. So I need somebody else to say. They're used to hearing it from me. I'm not saying that they won't listen, but they're used to hearing me say, because they think I'm sticking up for Jake Moody, and this is not it. He has to make that kick. He has to make every kick. I want people to know that Moody has to make his kicks. I don't understand. That wasn't a miss. That was a block. But Romo said it was on Moody. He kicked it low, kicked it with the side of his foot. Cool. He has to be better.
Yeah.
But damn, this kid nailed crucial moment field goals, bro.
He did. That's definitely, and I think that's probably
tough.
What saved him from being like left in.
No, bro. They still. The Niner fan base is still pissed.
I mean, if you look at it, if he hits it, they win the game. They have the lead at the end by 1.
But you just came out and said, "How do you know?" Because my theory is,
I know. I'm saying if everything stayed the way, it's the way the game went, and he hit that field goal, the extra point, it would be a 1 point lead.
Can I throw a scenario at you though?
Of course.
Moody makes that. The Niners are up by 4 instead of 3.
Yeah. Patrick
Mahomes had the ball at the goal line. I just don't
settle.
No. I mean, Mahomes in the red zone, it's like undefeated.
Yeah.
So then they go up by 3.
Yeah.
And then, right? I mean, if it all
100%.
went a different way, I just want people to understand it would have been a different scenario for the Chiefs, and we couldn't stop them on the goal line because they scored a touchdown in overtime on the goal line.
Correct.
It's just weird, right? Like how the things transpire. Now you were going to say something different, and I want to go where you were going.
I think 100%. I think the tone setter was the
Here we go.
McCaffrey fumble.
Here we go.
I think the backbreaker
Was
that
the
fumble.
freaking muff punt.
And I don't know what made Mcloud try to sit there and scoop it up and try to run. I remember in Pop Warner, get on the ball. Get on the ball. Man. Just grab the ball. Grab the ball. That's all they told you.
I'm not going to stick up for him. I know I put out the tweet, said I don't think he did anything wrong. And I understand what people's arguments were. I was really talking about the fact that, he was yelling to get away from the ball. I don't know if it was late. I don't know. But he was yelling, move, move, move. The ball hit the foot. He wasn't going to be in any way fielded. It was going to bounce back. Honestly, Tony, like the reaction that I got was, oh, shoot, it hit somebody and I can get it. And unfortunately, the fundamental part just didn't set in. And when you forget fundamentals, I mean, the 49ers have been dealing with fundamentals all season. We talked about missing tackles. They had a couple in this game. Oh, I'm going to get those too because they had some big ones in this game. They had 7 missed tackles. Like, that's not good. Like, and so, like, it be fundamentals, Tony, I think that drive me nuts more than anything. And you're right. Like, everybody that said he should have fell on the ball is 1,000% correct. 1,000. You're 1,000. You're 10 times 100% correct. I just want to know what was going on in his mind because he didn't have anybody in front of him, and I think he thought he could make a play. And I think, like you said, that was what gave the momentum to the Kansas City Chiefs. That was the moment that they took the momentum. It's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough. 7 missed tackles from this team, Tony, and it didn't look like they had a lot of missed tackles. It was when they missed the tackles, and they became extra crucial in this game. And Tony, I'm gonna say a name, and don't be mad, but can you guess who had the most missed tackles defensively in this game?
Fred? No.
That's a good guess. This is a good cough drop, too. That's a good guess. It's not Fred, though.
Who is
49ers had 7 missed tackles. One player had 4. Who can guess who that was?
I don't know.
It was Nick Bosa. And it was because you remember on some of those plays where he came too deep on the containment. I know we don't want to talk about our guy Nick Bosa, but
no, listen,
we got to talk about that. He was probably still the most dominant defender on the football field, but 4 missed tackles, bro.
I'm going to tell you what the problem is, right?
Yes, sir.
You got a ton of good players on this team. A ton. All of them want to win this game, obviously, from top to bottom. Kyle, everybody. They wanted to win this game. I think they lost their focus. I think they became individuals and tried to make plays on their own to win this game.
Okay.
And I think it cost them.
Okay.
Especially the play in the fourth quarter, or maybe it was overtime, where they did the run. They did the run fake, and Bosa went flying down the line of scrimmage. And you know what?
He gave it the containment.
He lost the containment, and Mahomes ran it. But at no time did they show anything like that prior to that play. Right? You still got to play disciplined 100%. No doubt in my mind. But I just think this team wanted to win this damn game so bad. And I'll even say Kyle, too.
Ooh.
that they went outside the box
Oh,
and
oh, I need an example from about Kyle. I want to know what you mean.
it's tough, man.
Fact
It's
that
so
that
tough.
motherfucker started running the ball. I want you to say that. I know you know
He did
football,
stop running the ball. He
but he didn't
did, but
have to. He didn't have to. That was
there
the
was a
thing.
couple. Wayne, I watched the game last night again at work.
Me too,
There was
bro.
a
And when you watch the game, Tony, I respect it. I do. You see it. Your eyes are so dope. I know, that's my
he
word.
Spagnola made a huge adjustment
Okay, but
in the third and fourth quarter.
okay, okay. I'm
All
shutting
right,
up.
he crashed his tackles inside of the A gaps, and when they rushed out, and the linebackers filled once they rushed out. And what that caused was it tied up all the blockers, so they can't get to the second level. And every time they did that, there was a linebacker waiting in the middle. Purnell, what's his name? Purnell
Oh
had
yeah,
a
Neck,
phenomenal game yesterday.
he did in stopping the run and
Phenomenal
st-
game.
and stopping the run. Yes, he did.
That scheme that they
Pinnell
put
and
in,
Chanel. I think that's their names.
there you go. They knew where to hit this team. They made their adjustments. And the problem is Kyle didn't have the answer to their adjustment.
Okay, so why can't I be mad at Kyle Shanahan?
I'm not saying you can't.
That's my issue. That's the issue. Okay.
You could. I mean, listen. Everyone could be mad at him, but to say fire him,
No,
I
no, no,
think
no, no.
that-
That I'm not that crazy, man. You're not gonna put that on me. I'm not freaking Looney
no.
Tunes.
I'm just saying in general.
But that Tony is why people are upset at Kyle. Listen, people are gonna overreact and say fire this coach. He failed. He failed. I know the players didn't execute, but guess what? He failed. He failed his players, and the players didn't, and they failed. They failed again. And so you gotta expect the overreactions to happen, right? We do overreaction shows, but when you go back and you just tell me that Spagnola adjusted, well, why didn't Kyle adjust? And what happened? So as I'm saying, run the ball, I don't necessarily mean you just got to hand off the run. There's quick tosses, quick pitches, outside zone. What happened to that? That's the bread and butter. And don't tell me they took away all the outside zone stuff. But on top of that, even if they did, let's say they did, because you said some good stuff. Let's say they did. I watched it. I watched Baldy's breakdown. You where them eight in the box beater plays at? Where the quick throws? Where the quick screens? Where are those plays that beat the eight in the box? And that to me is where Kyle just didn't he the creativity. Okay. First time we get a touchdown was from a what? Trick play. Creative play. Trick play. Play that is probably not going to ever work. The percentage is super low because now you're asking people to they have to execute at 100%. There can't be no mess ups on a trick play. It'll trick the defense if it all works, and 9 times out of 10 you'll get something out of it. Great play call, but that was a trick play. I'm not even asking for tricks at this point. You have a lead, but if you're stagnant in running the ball, you got to find a way to be creative and extending the run game. You can't tell me this offense is an extension of the West Coast offense, and then you don't use the West Coast offense to beat this team. They're not taking away the West Coast portion of the pass if they're taking away the run. And that is where I fault Kyle Shanahan, bro.
I'm going to tell you one thing I don't like about Kyle Shanahan. He always goes in the shotgun.
And empties out the backfield.
Not only empty out the backfield, I just don't like how he consistently runs out of his shotgun.
Like, what is he scared of? Like what does he see?
I don't know if he does that
To give his
so
quarterback
Brock
a little bit more time?
consistently- I don't know if he does that for Brock. If it's for Brock to consistently see his offensive line, see the
Because of his
protection.
measurables, maybe?
Not the measurables, because if you turn your back on a play fake, you lose full track of your offensive line.
Agreed. But why not more boots? Like, you could have booted him out.
That's what I agree with you there.
And you have a guy that can beat the box. There's one guy that rolls with you in the boot. You could have booted to the right? Because they know the left is the strong. of the offensive line. You could have booted to the right. And how cool would it have been to get your playmakers involved? Brandon Aiyuk on a crossing route, little 5 yard automatic 5 yard route. But if Brandon's beating that guy on a one-on-one, he's taking a 5 yard and you're installing the yak system. Listen, I'm not going to say that they were clamped down on these wide receivers of the Niners, but Kyle didn't have any plays to get his team really involved. And on them on those plays that would have been touchdowns, bro, like we saw what happened. Like, yeah, those would have been touchdowns. Juwan Jennings wide open, Brandon Aiyuk wide open. How about the Deebo Samuel wide open? That was an overthrow. But when you look back at the game film, man, Brock was pressure. I mean, he literally had a big motherfucker in his face throwing the ball. So yeah, it's not going to be perfect. Those are incomplete passes on the receivers and targets for the receivers. But it can't always result to that. If Kyle's game plan was a little bit, I don't want to say better, but just more well equipped to make those minor adjustments, the Niners should have ran away with this game. Because you just told me they had full control. Kansas City defense didn't know what was hitting them.
They did 100%.
No quick hitters, man. No quick hitters.
It's sad, right? You got guys in here talking shit. I'm just watching the chat. It's cool. I don't care. You can say I'm a Kyle Homer, whatever. I'm on his nutsack. It's cool. But guess what, guys? As bad as you want to blame Kyle for this game, they were still in it to win.
Yes.
At the final bell. Okay.
Wait,
I think we need to take a step back and analyze that. I understand you're mad they didn't win the game. I'm mad. Wayne's mad. All of us are mad. But when push comes to shove, this team was in a position to win the game. And if it wasn't for that blown pickup, that blitz pickup or pass protection, the Niners could be holding the Lombardi right now. As bad as this game went, with the turnovers, with 0 points off of turnovers that we got from the Chief, with our turnovers, with the false starts, with the penalties, with everything that we just talked about, they still had a shot to win that game.
Okay. They did, and they did. Like,
I'm not lying. Am I lying?
You're not lying. And they pretty much had the game won, even in overtime, because we got to talk about that. They pretty much had the game won in overtime. It's just unfortunate that they couldn't convert a 3rd and 4. Credit the Chiefs defense. 3rd and 4 gives the Niners a first down. They take the ball. They run out the clock. They force Kansas City to use their last 2 timeouts. I mean, the situation was perfect, Tony. They just had to convert 4 freaking yards, and they dropped back for instead of just going to a quick out or the same play they did with George Kittle. Why not run it back? He gave you a first down, or why not use Kyle Juszczyk on the 3rd and 4? Or why not just try to run the ball at that point because they're probably playing pass? Them guessable downs.
Yep.
Trust. Where did the trust? He definitely trusts Brock Purdy, but I don't know. It was a weird vibe from Kyle. I don't know if he was flustered after losing John Feliciano, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Dre Greenlaw for the whole game. Jair Brown went out. I don't know if he was starting to feel weird, but it definitely, whatever it was, it affected his play calling. Somebody mentioned that, from a Kansas City Chiefs fan, said that Brock Purdy was pressured all day. And, I disagree. He was pressured on 19 plays. They gave up 19 pressures. You know who was pressured more? Patrick Mahomes.
Mahomes, by far.
24 pressures. 2 sacks. He was sacked twice. He was hit 3 times. He was hit 3 less times than Brock Purdy. He was hurried 19 times. So the pressures were there. And the key was that they got holding call. They got penalties not from their offensive line. Their offensive line didn't get 1 penalty in this game. Tony, we talked about how their offensive line had Jawan Taylor is the most penalized right tackle in the league. Not 1. You know where their calls came from? Their penalties. One was on Patrick Mahomes, and one was on freaking McCole Hardman. That's weird. Not blaming the refs. I'm just saying that's weird to me. So the Niners offensive line got hit with a bunch of penalties, and they not nearly one of the highest penalized offensive lines in football. And you got the highest offensive line in football not get penalties for the second Super Bowl in a row. That changes the game. No one's talking about that, Tony, because you just told me that the Niners drives got halted because they ended up going behind the yards. That was
Yep.
key. First down. Oh, there was one play. They got a big play or chunk or 8 yards. What was it? A hold? Now it's 2nd and 12. You see what I'm saying? Like, they always had to play for that. Not blaming the refs. I'm just saying I don't think that the consistency of the penalized plays from the offensive lines were the same. I'm not saying Trent Williams didn't hold. Trent Williams didn't do false start. I'm not saying he didn't do that. It's just weird to me that they didn't catch the Chiefs doing any of that. And Nick Bosa was held at least 14 times. He was tackled to the ground one time. I don't know. I'm not blaming the refs because at the end of the day, the Chiefs have more yards and they both finished with 6 penalties apiece. 6 for 55, 6 for 40 for the Niners. So
Yeah, I'm not going to do the penalty thing because clearly there's a vendetta. So I mean,
I just find it funny. Do you find it awkward that their offensive line didn't get one penalty? I'm just curious.
absolutely.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. We won't get into anything deeper than that. That's
And
all I want.
and for a crew that doesn't call holding a lot, they called 2 on Trent Williams.
He got 2 holding calls. I thought it was 1.
I think it was 2. Oh no, he got a holding and a full start,
Yeah.
and somebody else. There was one other holding call on the offense.
Correct. I think it was Aaron Banks.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Just interesting. All right. So that is what it is. I'm definitely not making up anything. I'm just saying both teams had 6 penalties. Chiefs had more yards, but it's just weird that they didn't have any. And the reason why I brought that up is because their drives weren't halted like in negative plays. So every time Patrick Mahomes got on the field, it wasn't like they had to go 3rd and 40 or 3rd and 16 or you get what I'm saying? Like that's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Where the Niners had to do so. All right, Mo, we got a bunch of super chats we got to get to, Tony. We got a bunch of them. Let's see if they answer some of these questions. Guys, thank y'all so much for the super chats. We do appreciate it right here on the show. We both feel that Kyle Shanahan shouldn't be fired. And we're going to talk about, we'll end the show segment with a couple of other things and whatnot. And we do appreciate it. So let's get to these super chats, though. This is interesting. We got some really good, interesting ones and a couple of interesting questions. So, guys, if you guys got some questions, maybe Tony will see a couple of questions. And if he does, he'll tell me to star it. And then I'll go ahead and star it. And we'll get to some of that toward the end of the show as well. All right, here we go. J-Dog from Boston says, I'm sick of this Kyle Shanahan support. Take the Stevie Wonder glasses off. Jed York, be a dog. So he's telling the owner to stand up, make a power move, please. Screw the Kyle supporters. They are cool with losing the same way. Toxic fans, man. Like, a lot of people really want Kyle gone, bro. Like, they're not hearing us. They're not hearing us, Tony. They're not hearing why.
Listen, you have our fan base is either pro Kyle or against Kyle. They're for him or they're against him, and that's it.
Understood.
But if you honestly look at it, and I said it before, if they were able to complete that last play in the end zone on the 3rd down in the overtime, we're not having this conversation. Okay, Kyle has a job. He puts the people in spots to make plays. Elena, shh. You put people in spots to have success and make plays. The players have to execute.
Yeah, they do.
They have to execute.
I agree.
So to say like we're not fans and whatever, like supporters, like whatever, we're not toxic fans. I'm not a toxic fan. Wayne's not a toxic fan, but it's the truth. Like I don't understand why everyone wants the. I want the Super Bowl. Wayne wants the Super Bowl, but you want to fire him? Go ahead. Who are you going to hire? Belichick? Great. Bring in Belichick. And who's he going to bring in? Josh McDaniels. Great. And who are you going to bring in with him? They don't want Brock Purdy. Now you got to start over. Oh, let's go bring a New England quarterback back. Jimmy Garoppolo. Will you play this game? You want to
Don't you start.
shit?
Don't you start,
No,
Tony.
I'm just saying, you bring a new coach in, you're starting over.
I think Kyle Shanahan would take, I think Bill Belichick would take Brock Purdy over any quarterback in this league at this moment.
I don't
Can you
get it.
imagine?
Like, this guy over here telling me shut up. Don't tell me
No.
shut up.
I'm telling him to shut. Come on, guys. Come on. Go. Don't even worry about that, Tony. Don't worry about any of that. Let's get to the next super chat because you on point. This is from James Welsh, man. He says this game came down to the QB. Now we talking. Brock Purdy needed to shoulder. He didn't. I don't think we have the guy yet, and we will not win it until we do. I love James. Kyle needs someone better than he is as a play caller. So we got a 2-point thing. Tony, Brock Purdy is not that dude. He says this came down to Brock Purdy.
I'm just.
You gotta give your take. Just yo. This is when you get the clap back.
I'm not saying nothing wrong. All I just don't understand is this, right? Now the finger's being pointed at Brock Purdy. Thank God I didn't say what I wanted to say in the beginning of the show. I thought Brock Purdy looked like the stage wasn't too big, the lights weren't too bright.
100%.
I think he did the best he get. Did he leave opportunities on the field? Yes, but you could tie that back to pressure, right? You could tie that to blown assignments. You could tie that to everything, right? Is he perfect? No. This kid this is his not even his second full year as a starting quarterback, and he's in the damn Super Bowl. If you're saying Kyle Shanahan's the problem, that means Brock Purdy's the good quarterback and he's carrying his team? Or is Brock Purdy the problem too?
I don't think.
What are we doing? It's like this.
I just think.
Oh God.
Okay. Here, I think I got it. I don't think Brock Purdy was the issue in this game. I thought Brock Purdy was playing phenomenal. I really felt like Brock Purdy and Patrick Mahomes were identical. The difference was this. Patrick Mahomes was able to use his legs and Brock Purdy wasn't. So the Kansas City Chiefs took that and eliminated that from Brock Purdy's game, and we totally forgot that Patrick Mahomes would do that. Like, totally forgot. The defense, Steve Wilkes didn't have his defense prepared for Patrick Mahomes at some point. Like, they fell asleep, and that's what Patrick Mahomes did. That's just experience, Tony, though. That's experience, Patrick Mahomes, and being in the league. It's not even saying that he has a better skill set, but that's just Patrick Mahomes saying, all right, man, I know what time it is, man. I'm gonna have to make a play and then keep Cope alive. You know? To me, that's what that was. But the second part was Kyle needs someone better than he is as a play caller. Do you agree with that? Like, I do agree that there should be some type of offensive.
I agree with that. I think he should have somebody up there assisting him or in his ear. If Kyle wants to call the plays, that's fine. But have somebody in his ear be like, yo, listen, I'm seeing this from up here. You might not be able to see it from down there. Like, you need someone to communicate. But now the problem is this. Is he going to listen to them?
No.
You don't do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? Like, it's going to be like they're going to be fighting on the sidelines. You're going to see him looking up at the booth, flipping the guy off. Like, we don't know. But Kyle has a big ego. I'm telling you, we all know it. He has a big ego.
I just want to put this note in here. We'll end the show on this note right here after we finish these super chats. But I know you about to flip because you ain't seen it yet. What? So I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to save it to the end so it's a natural reaction. Okay? All right, here we go. We got to finish up these super chats. The Opinion Sports Show. Thank you so much for the super chat. And Fish and Chips, thank you for the super chat. It says, Cloud's a great play designer, not coach or OC. I think he's a great play designer. I also think he's a great coach. I just think there comes down to moments that he's inexperienced in, and he just hasn't been able to get over the hump. I just kind of what it comes down to me for Kyle Shanahan. He says, not that I'm saying fire Kyle, but you asked who you bring in. Oh, shoot. And that's easy. Bring in Pete Carroll. He still wants to coach. Pete Carroll? Niners?
Well, all right. Let's run with that.
Let's do it.
Let's run with
That's why we here, bro. Let's do it.
Everyone is complaining that the offense is the issue, and you're bringing in a defensive coach.
But do you think because it's a defensive coach, it'll make the offense better? I'm just
But
asking.
who's running the offense?
You trust him to find somebody to run the offense? At the end of the day, he would have to bring in a coordinator. The best pairing for me would be Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniel. Like that. That's it. That would be the only way I would fire Kyle. Because you know they work, Tony. But they also worked with Tom Brady, and I'm not comparing Brock to Brady. Yes, I am. But I think Brock has that it factor. And if he gets a guy like Josh McDaniels, there's going to be some boots, there's going to be some screens, and there's going to be some plays where he can and you know what Bill Belichick's going to do? Beef up the offensive line. I don't want Kyle fired, though. I'm just saying it's the only way I would move on from Kyle. I don't want him fired. I don't want him gone. I want him here. I want him to win. I want this team. I want Kyle. I love the culture. I feel like Bill Belichick changes that, and this team loses its fritz. I don't think that Bill Belichick is a culture-based type of a person. He's old school, and I don't think the players on this team fit that. Do you get what I'm saying?
I hear you.
So I don't want it, but if it had to happen, it have to be them two. They have to come together in a package.
I got to be honest with you. I think that's why he was out in New England.
There it is.
And that's why he only had one interview.
In Atlanta.
Documented interview.
In Atlanta. Good point. All right, let's get to some more of these joints, man. Tonga 808 with the super chat contribution says, Belichick, best chance to stop Chiefs from beating his dynasty is defensive coordinating for us. Also, Dan Quinn went from Super Bowl appearance to Dallas. Last point, why do you think he's still available? I thought Dan Quinn got the Washington Commanders job.
Yeah, Quinn's in Washington. I think he might be referring to Belichick on that.
Oh, why Belichick is available? And
yeah.
We just talked about it, Tonga. He's just old. And I think a lot of these teams are willing to go with the younger guys. And when we talk about old, we got to talk about age and availability, right? Like, I think that's what I mean by old. Like, how long is he going to be around? Like, how much longer, is he going to be around to be available to coach? I don't want to put this guy as a head coach and then, 2 years down the road, oh, yeah, man, I think I'm going to retire. I'm trying to build something here, for the future of the team. So I think that would be a reason why he don't go to some of these newer or younger teams. But we're talking about a situation in San Francisco where it's built and it's ready to win.
Yeah. I don't know. Bro, these fucking people are nuts in the chat.
My man Jorge says, did the rules change? And here we go, because people want to get to this. Do timeouts roll over to second half? Kyle had a whole minute to try and kick a field goal before the half, and even Romo said it. And so I remember Peachy talking about Kyle mismanaging the clock again. And so did the rules change? No. Do timeouts roll over into the second half? No. But Tony, you get to take this whole minute question. Why didn't Kyle take advantage of that?
Well, I think he was going. I mean, I don't know. I remember a penalty that set them back. There was some type of penalty that set them back, and you just saw.
I got you, bro.
That's it.
I got you. Keep going.
I think. I'm not 100% sure. But something happened, and they just stopped. Like, you saw, like, they're like, all right, that's it.
So I'm trying to figure out what they're talking about, because the 49ers only had 20 seconds after the Chiefs kicked a field goal before the half. So I'm trying to figure out what they mean by had a whole minute.
I don't think they had a minute. I don't know. I don't remember.
20. It says from the score sheet, it says the Niners had the ball with 20 seconds left. And we ran it for a 6-yard gain with Christian McCaffrey and then let the clock run out. Now, they scored the touchdown on that trick play. Prior to that, they kicked the ball off at the 4-minute, 23-second mark, but the defense allowed them, to go, you know what I'm saying?
Oh my God. Can I read you something 1 second?
Absolutely. I hope it's not what I wanted to end the show with, but go ahead.
With a player?
Yes.
All right, then I'm not going to say it.
Okay, because I want your natural reaction. So Jorge, I don't know if he had a whole minute to try to kick a field goal before the half, and I don't know exactly what Tony Romo was talking about, but we did have 20 seconds, and I just don't think that was enough time. You ran a play, right?
I don't know, bro.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I'm glad y'all picking up on it. Ramon in Carolina says, thank you for the Super Chat contribution. Says, it was a hard fought game by both teams. This I agree. You just aren't beating Mahomes by one score. We agree again. That's why Tony said you got to get touchdowns and not field goals, right? It's Tony's mantra. Got to score touchdowns. I'm giving my employees off to. Wait a minute. Oh, this must be a Kansas City fan. That's dope, man. I wish I worked for you to get tomorrow off so I can come to not that parade, but you know what I mean. I wish there was a Niners thing, but unfortunately we won't be at a parade. It's all good. But thank you for the Super Chat contribution, man. We appreciate it. It was definitely a hard fought game, Tony. A review, Scientology USA says, who are we drafting? Oh gosh, Tony. Who are we drafting 31st and 63rd? Does Wilkes stay? Two-part question. Just give me 31st. That's the first pick. It's the only pick that matters. Who do you think they're drafting? You don't have to say a name. You could just go position.
I don't know, man, because with all the shit that's flying around with Aiyuk now, I don't know.
If Aiyuk is stuck here under contract, nothing happens. They don't trade because that's the key. That's the only way Aiyuk won't be here. They trade him for a higher pick in the first round, right? I want to know what you feel about this.
If everything stands pat and the team comes back, I'm going offensive line, hands down.
Okay, and I'm going offensive line as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go defensive line. I'm just saying that, but I'm going offensive line as well. Really quick, does Wilkes stay? Yes or no?
I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say no. All right, here we go. 49er, Shane, we'll talk about it. I got to actually have to do a Bleacher Report show in a few minutes, so I'll probably touch base on it on Bleacher Report. 49er, Shane, why does Kyle never put Aiyuk in motion to get open? Like Debo was
Aiyuk
locked.
motions.
He does. Debo locked the entire game, had all the targets. I think Debo was in motion, but I don't know if he motioned in this game, and I think that's what he was talking about. But I didn't understand why not put Aiyuk in the backfield and change it up a little bit and then have him come out. Like that's the creativity that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Like just
that's part of the issue, right? I mean, I'll say it, this game was not good for Shanahan as far as some of his decisions and his play calling and if you will, his game plan, right? We didn't see the things that propelled this team in the regular season. We didn't see the tendencies on offense that hung up 42 on Philly, hung up 42 on Dallas. You didn't see I'm not going to say creativity because there were some creative plays, but like where the hell was Kittle?
I can't understand how we didn't get the ball to our playmakers. There's too many weapons to not find a way to utilize those. Weapons is what confused the hell out of me. No. We're gonna get to it. I promise.
Not you.
Yeah. No. Because this is breaking news. All right. So we got breaking news for the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to put this on pause really quickly, and we'll talk about it, and I want to get your thoughts on it, and it could be a big reason why things were the way that they were. But breaking news, reported by Nick Wagner, 49ers defensive tackle Eric Armstead said he tore his meniscus in his right knee in that Philly game. Could this be a reason why Eric Armstead just never looked like he was back to form? Just curious to know.
Absolutely. 100%. You top that with the meniscus tear on top of the plantar fasciitis. It's a nightmare.
Yeah. I just feel like it's breaking news because we didn't know,
Yeah,
right? Like we knew he was hurt. We knew he had foot and knee, and they made it more about the foot. Remember they
yeah,
made it more about the foot, and
absolutely.
so now we're finding out he's had a torn meniscus. You know what I'm saying? So that's it's just crazy to find. You're gonna find out a bunch of stuff. You're gonna find out a lot of injuries from a lot of players. So just stay tuned. And they were trying to play through. Phil DB or Phil Devitt in the building says the game was lost. What's up, Uncle Phil? By the defense in overtime.
Well, as far as that statement, the defense didn't know what to do in overtime. I mean, Steve Wilkes tried to do zone, man,
He was
blitz,
trying it
cover
all,
zero.
bro.
He tried everything to get them, and it just wasn't. I mean, at that point, it wasn't happening.
I think.
I mean,
You know what I think, Tony? I think that Steve Wilkes knew what was about to happen. And between him and Kyle Shanahan, there was some panic stuff going on. I'm curious to know what that all-out blitz might have looked like now. Because at the end of the day, Kyle calls the timeout, and they still get beat. Right? Like he calls the timeout, he changes the play, and they still beat whatever play Kyle made Steve Wilkes shift to after that timeout. It's so weird. I'm just curious to know, would that have been a game-changing play? Because all the Niners needed was a sack. That's like they needed it. It's a gamble, but they needed a sack. And I don't know, man. I don't know. Kyle, head coach, Trump, Steve Wilkes, made him call that timeout, switched it over. James wants to clarify his comment. He says, I'm not blaming Purdy for this loss. There are multiple reasons for this one, but I still don't think Brock Purdy is a true franchise QB as I define them. Tony, I'll bet you 100 he regresses next season. Tony, you want to put 100 on it, dog?
nah,
Come on, Tony. You be eating them good steaks that be
no,
costing $300, bro. You don't want to put $100 up on this?
I don't. No, I don't gamble.
Okay. Well, bet a steak.
Um,
Why don't y'all bet a steak? Bet a steak.
my my thing is this. I think it's proven his past history that a team that fails to win the Super Bowl automatically goes down the next year.
You
That's
think
my
so?
opinion. I think
Is
this
it
team's gonna
because
have.
of the loss of players, possibly not having the same chemistry, or you think he regresses? Because that's where James is going with this.
I don't. I don't think Brock will regress. I don't. I just think Brock. I think Brock's just a damn good quarterback. I think
Yeah.
he might not have an MVP type year or be considered as an MVP candidate year, but I just think he's good, man. And I like what I see from him. Is it perfect? No, but I think this team's going to be forced to make big decisions on
Yes,
this
sir.
roster.
Yes, sir.
And if there's some of the ones that I'm thinking about, they better have something up their sleeve, man. Because you're talking about crippling your cap and losing players. So I just think that this is going to be a big offseason for them.
Agreed. Agreed. Let's get to a couple more. Nigel says, Kyle is why we make the Super Bowl, but also why we lose. So who's going to give us this chance season after season? Yes, hold him accountable, but you don't fire him, right?
I don't see firing. I don't
Right.
see.
He just got to be held accountable. Like he has to make whatever changes he needs to make. Because I'm telling you right now, Tony, the Niners come back and contest again next year. Like they're gonna be at that 12-5, 13-4 range, right? And they're gonna be right back in it. Like that's what the Niners do. That's what good teams are gonna do. I think the Niners have that, and I do believe that Brock is that guy. So we just gotta. It's not Brock. It's not Brock is not the reason they couldn't get over the hump. I think from a head coaching perspective, he got trumped and they couldn't capitalize or execute the to kind of like, get be victorious. That's just what's happened. That's what happened. it was a touchdown play. There was a play. It was a touchdown. It was wide open, and it just wasn't executed because Spencer Burford didn't block. He just didn't block him. That's all it was.
And again, I'll take you right back to the lead of the show. If he makes that throw and that guy gets blocked, not to mention it's Chris Jones coming unblocked at you, he gets that throw off. Dude, Aiyuk was standing in the end zone wide.
He was wide open.
Oh, man.
He was wide. It was 3 wide open end zone opportunities, and they all failed because the offensive line on those 3 plays.
Someone said bring in Kirk Cousins.
Here we go. Fernando, what's going on? He says Kyle has evolved, and him and Brock Purdy is only going to get better. The future is bright for the 49ers. Let's go. And this is where I am.
Thank you.
This is where I am.
Is Kyle perfect? No. Kyle has to still grow up. Kyle has to learn from his mistakes. But to sit here repetitively and say, fire him. He sucks. He's overrated. He's not even an offensive coordinator. Stop. Because none of you guys were saying this shit when we were winning games. Nobody. Be consistent.
I'm just saying. It is what it is, Tony. Like, we don't want to lose. And when we lose, the blame got to go somewhere. And it starts at the top. And we get it. I get that. But you got to micromanage and factor in all the factors that happen. Look, it's Kyle's game plan. Kyle has to set it. His players have to execute it. If the players don't execute it, of course the game plan not going to look good, right? Because the players are failing to execute it. I think that's when your coach has to figure out a way to amend it to start getting guys back into a rhythm and things like that. And I think that's where Kyle kind of like just failed in that particular part. But he did have plays set up to win, and the players executed. So like, it's all timing, like you said earlier. It's not just timing with the offense and getting a rhythm. It's timing when he calls certain plays or when he chooses to adjust or things like that for Kyle Shanahan. So you just got to figure it out. And I think that's why he stays. He goes nowhere. He just finds a way to figure it out. At some point, he's going to get over the hump. Jorge ends with this. He says, the Chiefs let the time wind down. He's coming back to his first or initial comment for 54 seconds. Now I remember. All right, so now I remember. Remember, Kyle could have called a timeout. Quick.
Yeah, when the Chiefs had the ball.
Ball. Right. That's why I was a little confused. Yes, he's correct. Do you think Kyle should have called that timeout, or do you think Kyle was just trying to get into the half? He wasn't trying to get more points.
Honestly, I think he was trying to get in the half.
Right. He was trying. He was hoping his defense could have held him to nothing, but unfortunately, it ended up giving up 3. And at that point, I think Kyle was just trying to let the clock run out because he thought, I'm thinking Kyle Shanahan thought, Tony, that his defense would have held him, and then they would have went into the half with a 10-point lead instead of a 7-point lead.
Yeah.
At that moment, and then obviously it didn't work because they convert, and then next thing you know, they end up getting a field goal. So it's so weird. Like I said, timing. It'd be timing. It'd be timing. Tony, I want to end with a positive note. Tony, can you tell me who the highest graded edge rusher defender was in this game for the 49ers?
Chase Young.
Chase Young, bro.
And kudos to him, bro. He did his thing. He played well.
Just real quick, Tony, how you feel about Chase Young as a free agent? If you're Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, and do you bring him back on a 1-year deal, bro?
I mean, the price has to be right.
But my question is, what is that price for you?
If he comes in, I don't even know what he would sign for. If he's anywhere between the 5 to 7 range, I would do it.
Right.
Depending on what you do, like depending where you are right now. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, Wayne. I think they're in trouble this year as far as.
I already know where you're going with this, bro, and I will save it for another show. But did you see the top 10 salary cap hits? I'm going to talk about that on Bleacher Report in about 30 minutes.
But that's what happened when you keep restructuring and doing this. Push it.
Yeah.
Push it.
So Brandon Ayuk just came out and said that he wants to remain a 49er if if it's the right move. Like the if is fucking me up. Like damn, you didn't have to hit him with the if, right?
Yeah.
Just I want to be a 49er. Period. The if is what's going to keep this thing going. And I'm not going to talk about anything else like that. All right, last thing. Ray Mcloud came out and made a statement, Tony. And I don't know if you saw this.
That's what I was talking about.
That's why I love you, bro. Because when I heard you chuckle in the
That's
background.
ridiculous. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous.
Okay, so Ray said that I am a playmaker. Sometimes you gotta take risks. Tony, close us out.
Take one. How about this? Take one to the fucking house before you do it.
That's a shot, bro. You can't take a shot.
No, but I mean, come on. You're in the biggest game in the world. You're inside the 20-yard line, and here you are trying to, like, whoop. No, man.
I told you we was gonna end the show with a bang bang. That was good.
Just fall on the ball. Like it wasn't
Tony.
his fault. He didn't muff the ball.
Nah,
That-
but
I'll say that.
he's a veteran and he had an opportunity to keep the possession.
That's your main goal. There's no playmaking involved here. You want to keep the possession because I'm telling you, that was the dagger in the back. That was it.
That was the dagger, man. Because I've never. That was the Madden momentum shifter, right?
God,
there.
was that it?
Tony, last question about Ray. And I unfortunately had an injury plagued season. Is he gone? Do you bring him back?
I'm going to tie this to what I said before, and we're going to talk about it on another show. It's going to be slim pickings on who they bring back because I don't think they're going to be able to bring the mass amount of people back like
they did.
You
before.
all want them to.
Yeah. Unless there's
Remember, we got another opening now. We got a big hole to fill with Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's going to go on the IR. So
he's not coming back until November.
I think you're hoping that your players develop. I think you drafted 2 linebackers.
Facts.
And you're hoping D. Winters takes that step forward. And it'll be his second year, and this is kind of like what they do with these second-year players, right? Like some guys get thrown right in. Some guys have to jump up for due to injury. That's why I commend. Like Jair Brown, I thought made a boo-boo on that big explosive play. He was in coverage, but he stopped his coverage for a split second and allowed the guy to kind of like get in front of him. And listen, that's McCole Harmon. That's a burner. I just felt like if he didn't do that, now Gip has to turn around. Like that's 100% and possibly make a play on the ball. It's 2 safeties right there. That should have been possibly an interception. But I think if Jair would have never stopped his run, he might have been able to outrun McCole and get in front or at least make a play on the ball. That ball just dropped right over him. But he turned around and said, yes, I'm going to take the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. So he had an interception, but I thought he could have had 2 interceptions in this game. You know what I mean? So we talk about players not coming back. Git might be one of those, and it is what it is. Tony, I had fun today, man. Thank you so much for coming on here, bro, and just letting everybody know. I got that same cough. I can't find a way to get rid of it. But thanks for coming on, bro. And we'll do this again because, free agency is coming. The combine is coming. The draft is coming. It's a bunch of stuff. The NFL season is officially almost over, and the new season is about to begin come March. So, Tony, I hope you had a great time, man. Just send us home, man, however you want to do it.
Thanks for having me. Listen, people in the chat, ladies, guys in the chat, I know you're really down on Kyle. I know you can't stand my opinions with Kyle. It is what it is. But, yes, he lost 2 Super Bowls with the Niners. There's no change coming. So either you got to suck it up and deal with it or just have faith in this team. Have faith in the organization. It sucks. I was devastated when that game went like that. But, you see, man, fuck Kyle. Okay, fuck him then.
Hey, listen. Let them have their time, bro. They gotta.
It is what it is.
The one thing I'm learning, Tony, is allowing people to get it out of their system, dog.
Yeah. So the offseason's coming. They're gonna look to improve this team. Let's try to stay positive. And, you know, the goal is the goal. Try to bring home 6. And hopefully they get it someday soon.
We got 2 super chat contributions. We're going to finish the show and we out, man. And we're going to go hard out. I got to jump on this other thing. Is this the most important draft regime? Because no more Adam Peters.
Of this regime. Yes. I think this is a very important draft, especially due to the salary cap reason. Now you got to hit this draft and you really got to find pieces that are going to be contributors because now all that big money is kicking in. So you gotta hit. You gotta be successful. And down to your undrafted free agents, you gotta find those gems that can contribute. Even if it comes down to special teams.
Yeah.
You gotta find the pieces.
I agree. I agree. But luckily they've drafted some players, maybe some of these guys that they already have, like Darrell Luter Jr., Ronnie Bell, maybe they become greater on the special teams now that they'll be going into their second year and being able to play. We'll see what happens. Fish and Chip says, see you in September. And on that note, we're going to dip out, man. Thanks for watching. We appreciate everybody. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to do a call-in show tomorrow. So, guys, get ready to get your phones ready. And you guys just get rip at it, right? That's what we do in the call-in show. I'll just sit back and I just click the button. Love y'all, man. Stay strong, stay up, stay faithful, y'all. Peace out. Yeah.